Hi everyone. I thought I'd come on today because today is International World Thyroid Day, and I just wanted to do a quick video on the importance of thyroid health and thyroid well-being, because I think very often we don't know anything about it until we're actually faced with having to deal with our thyroid. And for me, the fact that 1 in 8 women is likely to actually experience an issue with their thyroid over their lifetime is quite a significant statistic. And I suppose I find it quite worrying that our current testing markers that's available to most of us doesn't capture all the necessary information that we need to see in order to understand exactly how our thyroid is functioning and whether we need to be giving it more attention than we currently do. So I just wanted to come on here to talk around some of the key symptoms that's so often overlooked, because they very general symptoms, and very often they can fall under things like chronic fatigue or ME or fibromyalgia, or they can also be associated with hormonal issues. And I think, when you're dealing with things like weight gain, again, people will just put on weight and not really understand why they're doing it. They might think that that's because of the fact they're getting older or their hormones. Low mood, again, it's not something we just commonly going to associate with a thyroid condition. So again, low mood might be missed out. Things like dealing with hair loss can very easily be associated with polycystic ovary syndrome or hormonal issues. So can low libido. As we're getting older, most women just assume that their low libido is the byproduct of them getting older. And the same can be said for things like muscle pains and spasms. And very often those things are not picked up as anything specific, but it's more general, that you've either done too much, or it's chronic fatigue, or it's ME. There's a host of other symptoms, such as dealing with fatigue. Again, most of us are tired all the time, so it becomes the norm for a lot of us. And we kind of forgotten what it feels like to be energized. And it's not until we actually get our energy back that we can make that comparison to look back at how we actually did feel and then go, wow, actually, I was really tired. So again, fatigue is just such a general symptom that it's very often missed, and very often it's dismissed as well, because we're busy, we've got a family, we've got a job, and people might not think of it as an important symptom that is there to actually act as a red flag to say, well, actually, you shouldn't be fatigued, because that's a sign of inflammation and it's the body telling you that something's wrong. So there are many other symptoms, such as cold hands and feet. I definitely struggled really badly with very, very cold feet at the early, in the early years when it wasn't picked up or diagnosed, and had issues with my gut and digestive issues. Again, that's a common problem. Constipation is another big symptom that's associated with your thyroid. So there are so many different symptoms that I see in my clinical practice, and I also personally experienced when we talk about thyroid health. And as I said, so many of these can be overlooked. So I suppose the question is, how do you know you have a thyroid condition? And the answer I want to give you today is really, you need to do your own investigation and your own testing, because the current testing out there is just not going to capture everything that you need to see in order to understand what's truly going on with the health of the function and the health of your thyroid gland, and then it will at least give you some pointers, on the areas that you need to be focusing on and work on. So there's typically specific points in our lives where we're more prone to develop a problem with our thyroid, and that's for women in particular when we're going through hormonal changes. So we often see that people might start showing issues with their thyroid when they're going through pregnancy, or also postpartum, and then also going through menopause or perimenopause. So those are two key areas that's very closely associated with the onset of an underactive thyroid, an overactive thyroid, or Hashimoto's disease, which is where there's antibodies against the thyroid. And just to put that in context, really 80% of an underactive thyroid is generally down to Hashimoto's, which is this autoimmune thyroiditis. And again, that is not picked up through routine testing. So a really important thing for you to consider when you're getting your testing done, to make sure that you're ruling out your thyroid antibodies. But other areas that can also trigger issues with your thyroid is stress, significant periods of stress, whether that's trauma or, a difficult situation with your boss at work, or moving house, or even childbirth. Although you've got this hormonal changes for a lot of women, that's a really stressful period. So it is a common point in life to develop a problem with your thyroid. And also any sort of physical stress, if you're going through a lot of physical stress, maybe you're training really hard, you're doing a lot of exercise, and, you're burning your body out, that can also lead to the development of issues with your thyroid. So an under or overactive thyroid, or Hashimoto's. Also, if you have any other autoimmune condition, then you're automatically more, it's more likely that you can develop a second autoimmune condition. So if you do have an existing autoimmune condition and have some of these associated symptoms, then I definitely encourage you to go and get some testing done and get your antibodies tested to rule out that you don't have antibodies against your thyroid. So my own story, for those of you who don't know, so, again, my thyroid wasn't picked up as an issue. So for me, it really, really significantly impacted my health and my life. And I pretty much lost 3 years of my life not being able to function very well at all. And I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and I'm not saying the diagnosis was incorrect, because I did have all the symptoms of fibromyalgia and a lot of pain. And my mother has fibromyalgia as well, but all the classic thyroid symptoms were there at the outset, every single one of them, and it wasn't picked up. So all the things that I've learned in my own journey to get myself better and get my autoimmune antibodies down and improve my thyroid function and get my quality of my life back, is that we need to be looking at so many different things when we're trying to work on our thyroid health. Obviously, we want to make sure we've got the right testing done, but then you also want to be looking at your food and whether you're eating the right food for your body. You want to be looking at your gut health and what's going on there, because very often that's associated with potentially the onset of autoimmune disease, but also it can impact how well your body is converting the inactive thyroid hormone to the active thyroid hormone, because 20% of that conversion is actually taking place in the gut. So you also want to be looking at your mindset, and you want to be looking at your stress load. And again, like I said earlier, it can be physical stress, it can be environmental stress. So we're talking about toxins here. So, we're talking about mold, any other mycotoxins, talking about your cosmetics that you're using every day, your cleaning products, your whole toxic load, your environment, what's going on in your house. All of those things can have an impact. And so it's really important that you try and work holistically to try and support the thyroid, because very often when our thyroid, all the time when our thyroid is either underactive or overactive, or you're dealing with Hashimoto's, there's a reason for it. And it's generally down to some cellular stress somewhere in the body. And it's ultimately the key focus is try and understand where that's stemming from. You have to go upstream and see where that's originating from, so that you can address those things to help you to ultimately get to a point where you can get your thyroid to work better. Because if you remove the cellular stress, then your thyroid is going to have the pressure taken off it, because it's only responding in a way to protect you. It's not actually turning on you. It's not imbalanced or any of those things. It's actually just doing what it's supposed to be doing. And so if you can remove whatever's challenging it, then that will allow the thyroid to work in the best way it knows how to do. So I wanted to come on and just share that with you today, because it's, World Thyroid Day. And I genuinely think that, as women in particular, because it's much more common in women than men, we need to take our health in our own hands and, get in that driver's seat, take action, and get the right testing done, and then take the necessary steps. Work with someone who's going to help you to get to the bottom of what's going on with your health. For me, some of the things that, I have no regrets, because my journey's brought me to where I am today, and I'm very grateful that I can help people with thyroid issues to get better. But ultimately, if I had just had the right support in the early years, then my health would have been significantly different. So just some pointers for you to consider today. And for all the thyroid warriors out there today, happy World Thyroid Day to you all. And I really hope you found the video helpful. If you want to get more information around thyroid health, you can join my private Facebook group called Thyroid Wellness for Women. And if you want to leave me some questions or comments below, I'll be more than happy to answer those for you. So happy Thyroid World Day to you all. Bye-bye.